Hey everybody, welcome to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com, and this week I want to show you how to use the phase correction tool or plugin called Auto Align. I've used this plugin on just about every one of my mixes. I use it in a lot of my Made Easy and Quick Mix series products, and people ask me about it all the time, want me to go in a little more depth on how to use it. I did do a video about a year and a half ago for Studio One Expert, and they have that video on how to use it. You can always check it out over there as well. But now I'm going to post one on my YouTube channel because I keep getting questions about it, so I want to show you how to use it. So before we do that, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, head on over to Facebook and check me out on Home Recording Made Easy. There's new content going up there just about every day. And for more training products, tips, tricks, concepts, and techniques around everything home recording, be sure to head out to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. Check out the Quick Mix series and the Made Easy series. Man, I really appreciate your support. Thanks so much. So let's take a look here at our DAW. We are in PreSonus Studio One version 3 Professional. And here's just a drum loop here that I have. These are acoustic, live acoustic drums recorded very well in a very high-end professional studio. Let's take a quick listen to these. Okay, so they're recorded really well. There's no plugins on this thing whatsoever. These are just throwing the faders up, doing a little bit of balancing, a little bit of panning, and that's what we have. So what Auto Align is going to do for us and what phase correction is really simply this. If you're new to this and you don't know what phase problems can be with drums. So whenever you have multiple microphones on an instrument, whether it be a guitar cabinet with a couple different microphones, or in this case, a drum kit where you have a 5 or 7-piece drum kit and you have individual microphones on every one of the drums, plus you have a couple of room microphones plus a couple of overhead microphones. What ends up happening is the time from the time that the drummer actually hits the drums and from the time that it takes for the sound to go from the actual hit to the different microphones are all going to arrive at each one of those microphones at a different time. Makes sense? So for example, if you have a snare drum and a microphone on the snare drum, and you also have a set of overheads above the drum kit, when the drummer hits that snare drum, the amount of time that it takes for the sound from that hit to go to the snare mic, which is really close, is going to be shorter than the time it takes for that snare hit to go to the overhead microphones. And when you have that across several different microphones on the drum kit, you'll have some phasing problems, which means you'll have some frequency cancellations. And basically what all this means is it just makes your drum kit typically sound a little bit thin, a little less lively, and sometimes a little weak sounding when things are out of phase. So by using a correction or a phase correction tool like Auto Align, what that's going to do is it's going to bring all the phase back in a line in the DAW, so you don't have to worry about it, and it's going to give more punch and more liveliness to the drum kit. So I tell all of my students, if you work with live acoustic recorded drums of any kind, whether you do it yourself or whether you mix other people's projects where drum files are sent to you, you should have a plugin like Auto Align because it'll really help your your overall drum sound. So now let's just jump in quickly and see how you use this. So down here in brown, as you can see in the mixer, is where all our drums are. So we have from left to right, we have a kick in, a kick out, a snare top and bottom, hi-hats, 2 toms, an overhead left and right, in a room left and right. Okay, so what I would urge you to do now, if you've never used a plugin such as this, this can get a little confusing. In order to wrap your head around it, I really suggest that you get out a piece of paper and a pencil here and take some notes, or on your iPad or on your mobile device, get out your note app and take some notes, and I'm going to walk you through how to use this, because if you just kind of listen to me talk through it, it could be a little confusing, especially if you're brand new to this and you've never seen it before. So the very first thing I want you to do is get something to write with, or get your notepad out. And the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about the snare top mic. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start with the snare top, and we're going to open up an instance of Auto Align here. We're going to drag it over to our first insert on our snare top. And this is what Auto Align looks like. I'll walk you through the interface of the plugin really quickly. So over here on the left-hand side, we have an input meter and a sidechain meter with these little controls here, little triangle controls. I'll show you how to use this in a second. This is going to adjust our noise floor, as you can see beneath the bottom of the meters. In the center here, we have a graphical display, which you'll see how that works in a second. Over at the top of the right-hand corner of the graphic display, we have our send channels and our receive channels, which again, I'll walk you through and show you what that means. Above that in the top right-hand corner will show us how many samples that Audio-Align actually corrects each one of the drum mics, which again, we'll walk through in a second. Right here, we have a blue detect button, which we're going to use. We have a delay and polarity toggle switch here, which we're always going to keep on delay and polarity. We have an on and off toggle switch here in the bottom. And we also have a complete phase reverse here as well, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this on our snare top. So write down snare top, and on our snare top, we're going to send the signal from our snare top mic to our snare bottom mic. So what we want to do on the snare top is we want to click right here where it says send 0. Click it once, it's going to say send 1. And we're going to play back this loop a little bit here. I'm going to show you how to set this. So here is our snare top input. And what we want to do here is we want to kind of raise this little adjuster here, this little triangle above the kind of the noise floor. We want to get it above all this racket here on the bottom. Okay. And once we set that, that's all we do for our very first instance. You don't see anything in the graphic display. You'll see that in a second, trust me. So for our snare top, you're going to put snare top dash send 1. Okay, that's the first note you should take. So we have our snare top mic, send 1. Now we can close this. We're going to open up another instance of this, and we're going to put it on our snare bottom. Okay, so here's our snare bottom track. Now over on our snare bottom, the next note you should write is we're going to write snare bottom dash receive 1. So what that means is we're going to be receiving the signal from the top snare mic to the bottom snare channel. Make sense? We're going to put our toggle switch on delay and polarity. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play this back, and you're going to see the snare bottom hits in this graphic display. Okay? We're going to go ahead and we're going to raise our adjustment of our input above the noise floor, as well as the one on the right hand side. And we want to raise this just enough so the only time you see the graphic pop up is when the snare is actually hit. The snare bottom mic is actually being hit, or the snares on the bottom. Okay, if I bring it down way low, you're going to get a little bit of bleed. I want to raise it up just above the noise floor. Okay, once we have this, let it loop around. Now we're going to hit the detect button here in the top right hand corner. And Audio-Align is going to do its thing. Now again, it's checking the phase relationship between the bottom mic and the top mic for the snare. Usually takes a few seconds. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, it actually phase corrected the bottom snare mic to the top negative 371 samples. Okay, so it moved the 371 samples and moved it in a line with the top mic. Okay. Let it loop around. Okay, so now, hopefully you're listening to this on a good set of studio monitors or headphones. If you're listening to this with earbuds or some kind of other mobile device, you may not hear this as good. But once we have these two things phase corrected, the bottom and the top snare mic, if you flip this toggle switch on and off, you flip it from the on position to the off position, you should hear the snare starts to get a little thinner sounding. So I'm going to keep it in the on position. I'm going to play it for a bit, and I'm going to turn it off. See if you can hear the snare getting a little thinner. And what I'll do is I will turn up the two snare mics and I'll exaggerate them just so you can maybe hear this a little more clear. Okay? Okay, that's off. So hopefully you can hear that the snare gets a little bit thicker sound. You get a little bit more bottom end to the snare. Again, it's subtle. It's not this massive difference, but it is subtle and it is there. Now, when we do this across all of the drum tracks, you're going to start to hear how much more thick and lively and low end we're going to get back in our drum kit. And then at the very end, we're going to turn all the instances of Audio-Align off all at the same time so you can hear the total before and after. Okay, so our first two notes are snare top is going to be send 1. Snare bottom is going to be receive 1. Okay, now we're going to go over to our overhead mics, and I like to start with the left overhead. Now again, we're going to open up an instance of Audio-Align, put it on the left overhead. Now on the left overhead, our notes are going to say left overhead dash send 2, receive 1. So let me do that now. So we're going to go send 2, receive 1. So now what does that mean? What that means is that once we're receiving 1, which is the snare top and bottom. Remember, we had send 1 on the snare top, receive 1 on the snare bottom. Now we're going to receive 1 on the overhead left, which means that we are now going to align the snare to the left overhead, okay? Because we already aligned the bottom and the top snare mic. Now we're going to align that to the left overhead. And then we're also going to use the left overhead as a send for the rest of our microphones, and we're going to align all the other drums to the left overhead. Make sense? If not, go back, rewind the video, listen to me say that a couple of more times. This is why I want you to take notes. So this note should say left overhead, send 2, receive 1, okay? Delay and polarity. We're going to play this back. We're going to adjust our noise floor. Then we're going to hit detect. And let auto align do its thing. Okay, so it corrected it 106 samples. So what that means is it aligned the top and snare bottom, the snare, to the left overhead 106 samples. Okay, that's what this means. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to close this. We're going to go to the right overhead, and we're going to put another instance on. Okay. Now this time, on the right overhead, our note should say receive 2, because we're using the left overhead as send 2. Now the right overhead is going to be receive 2, so we're going to align the left and the right overheads to each other. Okay? Delay and polarity, play it back and adjust to the noise floor. Hit detect. Okay, so it corrected it 113 samples, so now the left overhead is in phase with the right overhead, or the right overhead's in phase with the left overhead. Now we're going to go to the hi-hats, and we're going to do the same thing. The hi-hats are going to be what? What is the hi-hat going to do if you're taking notes? If you're taking notes, it's going to be receive 2. Correct. So receive 2. We're receiving 2 with the signal from the overheads. Delay and polarity. We're going to adjust our noise floor. And then we're going to hit detect. Okay, negative 21 samples. Now we're going to go to Tom 1, and then we're going to do Tom 2. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to put it on receive 2. Delay and polarity. Receive 2. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loop a section where they hit the toms, which is right towards the end of that loop. So you want to make sure we do that. You want to make sure you go to your tom fills. Okay. Hit detect. Okay, corrected at 41 samples. Now let's go over to the second tom and let's just repeat that process again. Okay, we're going to go to receive 2. Right, so hopefully you're taking notes here. Delay polarity. We're going to adjust the noise floor, and then we're going to hit detect again. Okay, so it corrected at 119 samples. Okay, you guys get the idea? So now we're going to head over to our kick drum last. Now, because in this session we have a kick in and a kick out mic, we're going to make sure, just like with the snare, that we align the kick in and the kick out mic together, and then we're going to align that to the overheads as well. So kind of like what we did on the snare. So in your notes, you should be writing kick in. Let's start with the kick in. Let's open up auto align or put another instance on it. Okay, so now for the kick in, we're going to use a send 3. Why? Because send 1 was the snare, top, remember? Send 2 was the left overhead. So now we have to go to send 3, which will be the kick in. So we're going to do delay polarity. Now, we're also going to put receive to, because again, we are trying to align the kicks to the overheads. Okay, so let's do this in just the noise floor. Okay, we can go back to a full loop now because we don't really care so much just about the toms anymore. So let's listen to the whole loop. Okay, so it corrected at 48 samples, okay? So now last but not least, we're gonna go to the kick out mic. We can do this one more time. Kick out. And again, now this time around, we're just gonna go receive 3. Again, because we want to align it to the kick in mic that we just did a second ago. So we're gonna go receive 3, delay and polarity. Detect. Okay, so it corrected 32 samples. So now we have a drum kit that's totally been phase corrected. Now for the rooms, I don't always do this with the rooms because typically the rooms are far enough away from the drum kit that if you align that to the overhead, you kind of lose that sense of space. So that's something that you can experiment with. And if you were going to experiment with it, you can just keep it, you can just open up an instance and put it on receive 2. And then align that to the overheads. But I typically find that I leave the overheads kind of alone. I don't typically play with those. So now, okay, so now that we have everything aligned, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a kind of a before and after. So by me just clicking on the insert button, no, whoops, oh, my bad. Let me do this again, sorry. By me clicking this one on and off, you'll see all the auto aligns will turn on and off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with them on. I'm going to take them away so we can try to hear the difference. It's without auto align. With auto align. Okay, so hopefully you can hear that. What I can hear is I hear that the kick drum is a little bit thicker, a little bit more bottom heavy, and the snare is a little bit more bottom heavy as well. Has a little bit more of a fuller sound to it, where without auto align, it tends to be a little thin sounding. So that is kind of the difference between having something with that's phase corrected and having a drum kit that's not phase corrected. Now, depending on who recorded the drums, this will have more or less of a drastic feel to it. It depends on how much care that the engineer that recorded the drums took with their mic placement. That has a lot to do with it. This was recorded very well in a high-end studio, so it's not going to have this massive difference, but it is definitely there, as you can hear, and it just makes the drum kit sound like it's a little more lively, a little more punchy. It's got a little bit more thicker end, and it's not so papery and thin sounding. So I hope this video was helpful. Hopefully you took some notes, and I really do recommend you go try Auto Align. You can demo I think their plugin for like 14 days for free. I think at the recording of this video, the plugin somewhere around 150 bucks. But I highly recommend it. Is worth it if you work with live recorded acoustic drums. Having Auto Align is a lifesaver. And you can also use it on things like guitar cabinets as well, where if you have multiple microphones on a guitar cabinet, you can also do the same thing. So it doesn't just work for drums, but that's typically where it's used most often. So again, I hope this video was helpful. I've been David Vignola with HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com. Be sure to head out to HomeRecordingMadeEasy.com for more tips, tricks, concepts, and training around everything home recording. And until the next video, I will see you guys all soon. Take care.